To what extent is Islamic extremism focused first or primarily on Israel, and the extent to which the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is the source of the sore which drives Islamic extremism?
There's no question that the Arab-Israeli conflict is an aggravating factor. If that were solved tomorrow, the whole thing just done away with, the problem no longer there, however resolved, just no more Arab-Israeli conflict, there would be one less issue. But there are a whole lot of issues. I mean, Kashmir is a big issue too, and plenty of others around the world, Chechnya, and so forth and so on. So yes, it is an irritant, but take it away and the situation's not that different. There's no way you can say that Islamists in Indonesia and Nigeria and all over the world are all obsessed about what's taking place in the Arab-Israeli conflict. No.
But you hear this all the time, Daniel, that there's this notion that if only the Israeli-Palestinian conflict could be solved, the issues dealing between West and the Muslim world also would be solved.
Yeah.
Is there truth to that, or is
It's
that
called
a fiction?
There's a name for it. It's called linkage.
And what do you think of the linkage?
I think it's ridiculous. Again, you asked on the Islamic question, then we can look at it in the Middle East. So,
Yes.
you know, Syria, Libya, Iraq, Iran. Would everything be fine if the Arab-Israeli conflict was solved? Obviously not. Israel is, the Zionist movement initially, and now Israel, is a force for good, whether it be economic, created opportunities, caused a stream of Arabs to come into Palestine and then Israel. Still today. I mean, there's still a stream of Muslims, Arabs, coming into Israel. Be they Kurds at the northern border, Africans at the southern border, wanting to come into Israel for economic opportunity, for freedom, and so forth. It is also a righteous country that follows the law and so forth. So Israel in itself is a good thing. The Middle East is a blighted region, from autocracy and corruption and drought to misogyny and brutality and cruelty and economic backwardness and so forth. I mean, you name it, the Middle East suffers from it. And it's kind of curious to blame all that on the one successful country of the region, or the most successful country. It's a little odd, little reversing the problem. No, Israel's not to blame for that. And the solution to the Arab-Israeli conflict, well, obviously good for all concerned, will hardly fix things in Afghanistan, will hardly fix things in Sudan, will hardly fix things in Egypt, or for that matter in Gaza.
What's the ultimate goal of the Islamic extremist, Daniel? And you have made a distinction in your writings between what you call the Islamic extremist, who you define as the problem, and then you talk about the Islamic moderate, who you say may be the solution. But begin with the Islamic extremists. What's their real goal?
The goal is twofold. One is what I call autonomism, which is control of territory.
Territory?
Yeah, by Muslims. And two is what I call legalism, which is applying the law.
Mm-hmm.
So, say the Arab effort against Israel is autonomism. This is territory that was historically under Muslim law. We want to rule it now. But it doesn't have to be historically under Muslim law. Britain, you'll hear these voices saying, Britain should be a Muslim country. There should be a Muslim in 10 Downing Street.
Mm-hmm.
So that's control of territory. And the second is legalism, overthrowing the Shah. The Shah was a Muslim, but getting rid of him replaced a nominal Muslim with an Ayatollah Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
Applying the law. Or Arafat was a nominal Muslim. You get rid of him and Mahmoud Abbas, and you put in Hamas, which is real Islamist Muslims. So those are the two things.
If you were today advising the Obama administration, what's the biggest mistake they're making?
That's a good one. There are a lot of them. In the Cold War, the right was more fearful of the Soviet Union, and the left was less so. Believed that there was an ability to co-opt and work with. Well, interestingly enough, you see the same mentalities today.
Is one more right than the other?
Well, I'm on this side. I'll tell you, it's the right side. It was certainly right with the communists, and I believe it's no less correct today. This is a tremendous menace. But the left tends not to see it that way. There's a pattern in the non-Muslim world, not speaking about Turkey and Egypt and Pakistan, but in the non-Muslim world, India, Canada, Australia, here, of the left working with the Islamists. And while there are many reasons for it, the most important one is that both of them don't like the existing order. The left doesn't like capitalism, and the Muslims, the Islamists, don't like the Christian-based civilization. Very different approaches, but they agree on the fact they don't like the existing order, and so they work together. And so when 9/11 happened, you had the far left exulting. Finally, somebody's done something. Did it for the wrong reasons, in the wrong way maybe, but they did something. And so you have this emotional coming together. And you see it so many times. You see it over and over again. I mean, one illustration would be the Iranian-Venezuelan axis that's emerged between Hugo Chavez and Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Or you'll see George Galloway in Britain, far, far, far left politician, having essentially a pro-Muslim party.
The left tends to explain things this way. America has been very much self-absorbed. America has only cared about American interests, does not realize the extent to which it uses the world's natural resources in a disproportionate fashion, and has been in some way enslaving other parts of the world, either with intent or by policy that spills over. And as a result, the third world and underprivileged countries are simply the victims of an American, again, hubris.
Right. And that lays the basis for working together.
And therefore, it is necessary not to make the Muslim world the enemy, but to understand their grievances and to realize the extent to which we in the West are responsible in some part for generating a 9/11 response to us, and that they then look at a Barack Obama who comes in as president and says, the first thing I'm going to do is reach out to the Muslim world, and in some way, not to the Muslim extremists necessarily, but to the Muslim world in general, say to them, we are now more cognizant of our own failures in this regard, and we want to be more open to embracing what is good about you and creating some kind of new world order.
You got it.
You've heard this.
Yeah. Now, what's so striking is that the Obama administration's been in office now for something over a year, and it's not worked. Not worked. The results are poor. You don't see a spike in popularity for the United States. You don't see terrorist efforts diminishing. You don't see Islamist propaganda against us diminishing. It's not working. In fact, you see continuity. And if, say, George Bush had shoes thrown at him in Baghdad, Barack Obama's had his effigy burned in Kabul. And when, for example, he was awarded the Nobel Prize last year, there was hooting and cackling in places like Iraq and Palestinian territories. You know, what's he done? You know, who is he? So no, I don't think it's working. You've certainly got the American approach, but the Muslim response has been anything but favorable.
Okay, I want to come back because it's not that you dodged, but you didn't give me a full enough answer. I said to you, what is it that the Obama administration really gets wrong here? And if you were advising them, what are some of the things you'd want to correct about their attitude towards the Islamic problem in general?
Well, you encapsulated in your presentation. What they get wrong is this notion that the United States is to blame, that we are at fault, that we have caused the problems of the world, that if it weren't for us, things would be better. I would reverse that and say that we have improved things. I've traveled a lot, and time after time in different countries I've said, this is a democracy because of the United States. Or it's a decent country because of the United States. It's a very different point of view. Now, we're not angels. We've made plenty of mistakes. But the record is a very, very impressive one. I can give you just one example. Throughout history, the victor in war plundered the loser. As late as World War I. World War II, we changed it. We didn't plunder the loser. We gave money to the losers. And look what the results were. Phenomenal. And we've changed the nature of warfare because now it's expected. You go fight in Afghanistan, you go fight in Iraq, you don't just fight them and take their the good things, their wealth. You go there and you spend